All right, welcome out. Here's another list in our continuing list of lists. This one's about online classes. Let's get right into it. As it says here, not what you would expect, okay? Since COVID-19, online courses have become more and more common. Online courses can be convenient for those with a busy schedule who don't have to worry about class time while getting a similar course load to that of in-person classes. But there are some important factors to consider seeing if online courses are for you. So let's see if online courses are for you. Number one, you go it alone, relatively speaking. Since the classes are online, you'll most likely be taking the class from home or secluded elsewhere, not sitting amongst a group of students. If you're disciplined and focused, you could take an asynchronous class, meaning there is no designated meeting time with the professor, and you do the work when you have time. Synchronous classes require you to be online at a certain time for a professor's lecture. You may even do some group assignments with other students. And that's kind of a double-edged sword there, or a two-sided coin. You pick the metaphor that works best for you. A lot of people don't think that being in the classroom is you're relatively anonymous, but oftentimes you are. I mean, you can sit in class and not participate unless the professor puts you into groups. If the professor calls you out and makes sure that everybody participates at any given time or over the semester, I don't see a lot of professors doing that. So it's relatively easy to just kind of blend in with the crowd. Um, with synchronous classes, you're going to be put into groups, and your professor is much more aware of the individuals because he or she is basically monitoring the class and seeing the names there, taking attendance by who's online at the right time and so forth and so on. So you will usually, and this is what I've done, get everybody to participate at some point. And also, um, you're on camera. You don't have to be on camera. Some students will just turn the camera off and you never see from them. You just hear from them. So there is some anonymity, but because of the fact that you're online and it's tough to get a feel for the class, who's talking, who's not talking, who's participating, not participating. The online classes are a little more closely monitored. So your anonymity, oddly enough, even though you're online with your camera off, is less so than an in-person lecture or class because of the fact that, we got to keep tabs. We got to give a grade to these students, each student, and I've got to figure out who's here, who's not, who's participating, who's not participating. And I'm going to check to make sure that everybody's here and everybody's participating. And I want to see each student, in order to do well in the class or to get a good participation grade, participate 5 times, 6 times during the semester. So, and each professor works his or her way of doing it. Okay. Number 2, more about those courses. The workload and distribution of work varies according to professor and class type. For asynchronous classes, the professor may post a video once a week with lecture and notes on assignments. You are responsible for getting the work done and on time. Being responsible and punctual is key. Synchronous courses may meet at a specific time with some lecture and even classwork in which you are assigned groups to work 10, 15 minutes at a time in those groups and then report back. Okay. So those are things to consider. And I'm not going to cover everything for every professor, how every professor or instructor runs his or her classes, asynchronous and synchronous, right? But at least keep in mind that there's those 2 types. Whenever I took online classes, I would take the asynchronous. And personally, I prefer teaching asynchronous because they're a little more easy to manage. And usually I'm super busy and buried with work and I don't need more work. So I would usually teach the asynchronous. Um, Also, those for those classes, keep in mind what I used to do, and I've seen other professors do this. And again, I don't have an exposure to a great number, just a handful of the hundreds, thousands of professors out there. And the way I did it was each week I would post at the beginning of the week, kind of an overview for the week. This is what we're going to be covering. These are the assignments. This may have changed. This has changed. Might change. Kind of an update for the assignments, update for the week, right? That type of thing. Um, and if there were any questions, I would, you know, tell my students, email me, or if need be, maybe we can meet online, for a few minutes here or there through a Zoom session or Canvas or whatever. There are ways of covering everything that you normally have to cover and do in a in-person class and an online class. All right. So, but they're definitely different. That's like I can tell you that much. Know your teacher. Like any course, it's always good to know your teacher. Be more so, but more so with online courses because of the relative isolation. Are the teachers punctual and consistent? Do they grade and return the work on time? Upon inquiry, do they get back to their students promptly or even at all? What is the professor's experience level, workload, grading policies, and so on? If you know other students, ask around. Probably the best way to do it. You're going to get students who have just had that professor or maybe a semester or two ago in the past, right? That's probably the best way to inquire as to the professor and their style. And you got to be careful. Again, professors differ in their interest in the work, in their work load level, uh, grading, everything and anything. I once taught an in-person class, and um, I think that the teacher was out maybe for a couple days for some minor surgery. And I was spoken to right after the first day. And this was about 3 months into the semester. And several of the students came forward and said, geez, we've learned more from you in one class than we have all semester so far, 3 months from our professor. And we're still not really sure what we're supposed to do for our research paper, which was a month away. And if you know how research papers are, you need at least 3 weeks to get on the ball, get it up and going properly. The research paper, that is. So other students, great. You can also go to rating apps online, ratemyprofessor.com. Or if you're up for it, call the department and ask. You never know. You might find a friendly, talkative assistant or secretary, but be careful. Be careful of the questions you ask. That's all I can say, right? Syllabus contract. The syllabus is the contract between the student and professor. It contains assignments with due dates, quizzes, and tests, books, reading assignments, campus, course, and professor's policies, and so forth. It's basically the lay of the land. It should give you on the syllabus everything about the course that's probably in the course catalog, as well as everything that you'll need to know about the course, that professor's course, the way he or she operates the course. And there should be like a work schedule. That's what I do, detailed work schedule from day one to the last day, with all the assignments on there, quizzes and tests and reading assignments and whatnot, at certain dates and times, so that you're not working blind, right? Don't take a course, with a syllabus that has very little on it. As a matter of fact, for an online course, you might find the syllabus has a lot more there than it has, I'm sorry, for the professor's in-person classes syllabus, syllabi. Um, that's because you're again kind of working in relative isolation. If in the classroom, you can just walk up to the professor before class, after class, during class, during a break, and then talk to them. But online classes, um, there's really not much time. Very rarely will you see a professor hanging out before the online class or after. They usually have specific hours or time in which they will talk with the students for an online course, uh, maybe as a collective group, do a little group session through Zoom or whatever, or maybe individually, or maybe through emails, right? Since the course is online and contact with the professor is restricted, syllabus is usually more detailed. As I said, email the prof with any concerns about the syllabus, any questions, concerns, uh, issues, personal problems. You don't have to talk about the details of your personal problems, but you could say I've been going through some personal problems and I had a tough time uh, putting together such and such last week. I need more time, blah, 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 right? So, be in contact with it, just like in-person courses or classes. Course requirements. Make sure you have the funds to purchase all the course materials and the proper equipment with computer, um, keyboards, drives, whatever. Is your computer up to snuff with the hardware and software requirements? I was stuck in 2020, and I have a brand new computer now, but I didn't get it right after or get it when I needed it. I was having lag time issues using Canvas and dial-up Zoom, not dial-up, but Zoom, dial-in, I guess you could say. And the students occasionally would complain about lags here and there. And I worked with IT technical department uh, back and forth, back and forth. And then I finally realized that my computer was just outdated. I needed to update it. And it took me some time before I was able to do so. And I finally did. But beware that can be cumbersome. It's more of an issue for the professor because they have to teach the class, and you're teaching oftentimes, to 20, 30 or more students, and you've got to have the computer up and running, proper functioning computer all the time, right? You also need to download programs, help you with the class, such as Zoom, Blackboard, Canvas, as I said. Most of this information should be listed in the course requirements or syllabus. Again, if not, contact your professor. Finally, are you motivated? You should be. We've talked about foundational student motivation, all part of the prep work you do before you go off to college. So you should be motivated by the time you're taking classes. Oftentimes, it's the prepared student who not only succeeds in college, but in taking on online classes because they're motivated enough and disciplined enough to engage, take on the demands of online course, right? So, and online courses are a little more demanding in that sense. You don't have a classroom that you're going to and fellow students to look forward to, or maybe to help motivate you or carry you to class or whatever you need to get there, right? And sometimes just being with other students is motivation. It's difficult for some students to take online classes because you're working in a very isolated mode, okay? So you have to be ready. And maybe you are motivated for college, but you're not motivated enough for online classes. I don't know. You're going to have to really figure it out for yourself, right? So that's a little bit to help you out with those online class issues. If you have any questions, thoughts, comments that you want to make about online classes, put them in the comments. That'll be great. Also, like and subscribe as per usual. YouTube lingo scenario. Okay. So that's it for today. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.